Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Congressional App Challenge Debugged podcast. I'm your host, Medha, and today our guest is Samah El Hage, who is a recognized influencer in the world of technology and AI, known for her innovative approach and forward-thinking ideas. As an accomplished author with a keen eye on how tech shapes our future, her books, Redefine the Lead and Next Generation Motherhood, have fostered curiosity in understanding the role of technology in leadership and motherhood. With a strong foundation in computer science engineering, Samah has consistently pushed the boundaries of what's possible in the tech industry. Her work, especially her leadership in advanced technological solutions in the automotive and telecom industries, reflects her deep understanding of the complex relationship between technology and societal process. Uh, Progress. Samah, how are you doing
Yeah,
today? Thank you for joining us.
thank you for having me. I'm doing good. All good here.
Awesome. Well, let's just dive right into the questions. My first question for you is, how did you get to where you are? You have a background in computer science engineering. Now you're writing books about tech and society, and you lead innovation. How did you get here?
I think it's my mindset of being curious all the time. I think the kind of person that, I'm always asking the questions to know how everything works and like how is this built? What if we do this way? So I think one of the characteristics I have as a person, the curiosity thing, is the thing that have pushed me forward and making me kind of okay, check in a box. What can I do next? How can we improve certain aspects of our everyday life? And just pushing the boundaries. I think that's what have always kind of pushed me forward and taking me the to the point where I am today. And also kind of the whole kind of passion for technology and the willingness to understand kind of how things work and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's the big part of what has been driving me forward, so to speak.
That's amazing and such an incredible quality as well. Where do you remember most being curious about technology? Like what sparked that interest in technology? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think it was when I was growing up as a child.
Hmm.
Like, I was always pulling stuff away, like, with the TV, like, how can we get a picture in a display? And I was like, picking the pieces out, unscrewing the TV to understand kind of how the image was like, displayed for the audience, and the clock, how the clock was kind of ticking. So I think from childhood, I was kind of questioning those things like why the car, how can we get the car driving and those kind of, aspects. So since childhood, I think I get an interest of technology, and what at the end of the day made me choose computer science engineering to study and learning more about how to build that stuff. So yeah.
That's absolutely incredible. And so I want to talk a little bit about your art background as well. You're an incredible artist as well. So what parallels do you see between technology and art? And do you see any commonalities that might be reasons as why you're so interested in both?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and but I think being both a contemporary artist and a computer science engineer, that gives me perhaps a unique perspective of how art and technology are like the same side of or like having two sides of the same coin, if you could put it that way. So you can kind of imagine you're painting a picture and the coding a program, right? At first, you kind of see these worlds as two separate worlds, right? But one is about coloring and expressions, while the other kind of dives into logic and algorithms. But when you really get down to it, both are about creating something new and solving problem along the way, right? So as an artist, you're trying to kind of figure out how to bring your vision to life on the canvas, and you're playing with shades and textures to kind of express that feeling. And as an engineer, you're trying to kind of solve the puzzle, right, with the code, and kind of building something new step by step to kind of do some amazing things like helping people connect and making things easier. But I think the cool part here is about being both of these worlds, that you kind of see how they overlap. You have the artist eye for detail and beauty of the art and so on, while technology, you kind of develop more user friendly and visually appealing things. So those two worlds help each other. So I think in both art and tech, you always are learning, experimenting, and I think that sometimes you do make mistakes, right? But that's just a part of the process, whether it's a sketch that didn't go the way you planned it, or a bug in your code. I think each mistake teaches you to be better and to help you grow, right? So really, I think being an artist and an engineer isn't just about juggling two different worlds. I think it's when you blend them together, using the creativity and the logic to innovate and make cool stuff. So yeah, so I think in front of the canvas or a computer screen, you're using your skills to push the boundaries and bring those unique ideas to life. So that's, I think, how you can kind of see the parallels between them.
That's incredible. And speaking of bringing new ideas to life and experimenting, you've written two books. I'm curious for both books, what was the conception point for that? What inspired you to be like, okay, this is something I should write and publish a book about?
Yeah, I think, we are living in an era today with in this digital transformation era where technology are evolving, and I think that was what pushed me, right? I think in my work with the book Redefine the Lead, I dive into the transformation that leadership undergoes in this phase of transformation. And I think, and that part is also evolving. And leadership at its core is about influencing and guiding others towards achieving, these common goals that we set up. But also, as technology is reshaping our world, it also demands a new type of leaders, and that what I wanted to bring awareness of. Now, what does it take for these kind of new leaders, right? And not just, you don't have to, it's not just about being digital savvy today, but you also need to have a mindset of fostering innovation, adaptability, and also the ethical standards in this fast-paced digital era. So, you work in the industry as well, and the digital landscape is massive and varied, and presenting both opportunities and challenges, and that requires to navigate with foresight and integrity. But turning to the intersection of technology and motherhood, that's another aspect that not a lot of people talk about either or bring awareness to. So I wanted to kind of, also give voice to that kind of topic. And so in my book, Next Generation Motherhood, the conversation shifts to how technology, while offering incredible tools for education, connectivity, and health, but also presents like the dilemmas around privacy, screen time, and also, the digital divide. Now, both books examines the transformative impact of emerging technologies. With motherhood, we have, artificial farms and genetic engineering coming up, which presents like a profound ethical questions for mothers and society at large. Now we need to discuss about those topics because these challenges traditional notions, right? and of parenting, and pushing us to consider like the implications of such technologies on future generations. So I think that is what pushed me to write these books at the end of the day.
That's such an incredible story. And I'm curious, let's start with technology and leadership. What's your perspective on what we should expect over the next 5, 10 years? What are things that we should be keeping in mind, and what are things that we should look out for?
I think with leadership as such, there's a set of guidelines we need to have in with us, like in our backpack. I think it comes with we have to be more responsible as leaders. As I mentioned in the beginning, like you always need to stay curious because always on the lookout of for why and what if questions. Curiosity leads to discovery, whether it's technology, art, or in any field. So asking those questions about how things work and why they are the way they are to reveal the opportunities for innovation when a new tech pops up, for instance. And I think also as a leader, or not necessarily a leader, for when you talk about innovation in general, like you have to dive deep into the subjects you're passionate about, because often the areas that you make the most impact are those that you care about the most. So your enthusiasm in the area you're leading will drive you to explore these areas more deeply than anyone else, right? And I think also as a leader, you need to keep learning stuff because with technology and societal needs are always changing. We have seen that, like now we have very fast evolving changes, and keeping up with these changes can help us to spot new opportunities and also develop solutions for the good. And when you are also on your learning journey, this I don't mean have formal education, but also kind of learn from online courses. I think Coursera is a very good platform to find a lot of digital content with courses, have workshops, and I mean also with people in your network there's a lot of stuff you can learn from one another. And also like when we're talking about networking, connecting with people from within your kind of field, but also from your outside of field. I'm all about like bringing different perspectives with one another because that will spark new ideas and push changes towards the good. So I think as a leader you have to always kind of be out there, seeking different perspectives, making sure that you're building solutions for the good, making sure that you have covered the ethical aspect, the inclusivity aspect, that you are innovating for something that brings value and not innovating for the sake of innovation. And also, I think don't be afraid for failing, because a lot of people see failing as like something, it's a taboo, or yeah. But I think every failure is a lessons learned, and that will always bring you closer to next success. So and with innovation, if we talk to I'm having the innovation hat now on. But with innovation it involves a lot of risks, right? So through those, when you take these risks, that's when new possibilities are uncovered. So I think for the upcoming years we have to always be up to date. It doesn't just it doesn't just you don't that you're up to date with technology, yes, but you have to have other characteristics as well. And I think we can expect more from AI, new technologies. We have quantum computing, robotics, and so on and so forth. So yeah,
That's
long and
incredible.
long answer maybe, but feel free to stop me whenever.
No, I have so many questions based off of that. And my first question is If you don't mind me asking, what is a failure that you experienced that you learned from and ended up being redirection in the most positive way?
Yeah, I think, I can't go into detail in the projects because the nature of confidential confidentiality and so on. But I think with every company there is challenges, right? Either there is kind of budget constraints or a time plan or a glitch in a prototype, or maybe you have designed a solution that were supposed to kind of integrate a specific technology but didn't work out the way you did. Actually, I can take an example from a previous project that we were working on, I think 2 or 3 years ago, with a different role, not within a good kind of, a vision of what the project. I can't go into details, but
Mhm.
we had a clear vision, and with the value that would actually benefit the end customer at the end of the day. But we discovered that this technology was not mature yet, and kind of, instead of seeing it as a failure, we learned that with the data sets that we had, or that was out on the market, with the startups that was actually providing this kind of solutions, that the data set were a bit biased, and the technology was not mature yet. But then we understood that, okay, this is we will park this, and then we will revisit it again when the data set was like more evolved and could have like more data that was kind of covering the entire kind of perspectives, and not be biased, and also understanding more, can we actually use another technology in this solution instead. So yeah, so I think once you hit the failure, or once you hit a roadblock, you kind of sit down and try to think of another solution, and be more creative, and not kind of trying to solve the problem on your own, but gather the team. Like, how do we deal with this kind of setback? What do we do? And take a joint decision that makes everybody feels good, and then you focus on the new, and take the lessons with you going forward.
And that's incredible advice. And so, I'm curious, when I know that some of your roles have been, when thinking about your career journey, I know some of your roles have been with technical audiences at technical companies, some of your roles have been at non-technical audiences at non-technical companies. I'm curious how you navigate presenting technical ideas to non-technical audiences, and if you have an example or a story, that would be awesome.
I think, explaining tech to non-tech audience has taught me that the importance of really understanding who I'm talking to, right? And it's not just about simplifying the language, but it's also about connecting the dots between technology and the value it brings to their life, right? So, for example, rather than explaining the technicalities of a new software, I kind of focus on how it can save you time, for instance, or make your everyday life task easier, or yeah. So focusing on the value, and a big part of getting it right is knowing your audience. You have to understand what they find important, and shape your kind of presentation or explanation around that. So, like, taking an analogy here, it's like you have to adjust the volume of your voice based on how far someone is from you, if that makes sense. So you tailor kind of your message, so it's right for the person that's listening. And I think also telling stories helps a lot too, because people remember stories about something that was used or made a difference, right? And not the technical details. And you know um, just taking like coming back from South by, people kind of will remember what I tell them about the sessions I was listening to and so on, and not about the flight details. So, I
Mhm.
think, when you are in presenting for executives, or you're presenting for teachers, or whatever your audience is, make sure that it grabs their attention by connecting the dots between how that will make value in their life. If you're pitching an idea, for instance, for an investor or wherever, so it needs to kind of make sense to them in their own language, in their own world, and where the value actually is. Because I've seen in my experience throughout my 23 years, when you are there and presenting and you focus on the technical parts, you will lose the attention and you will not get funding for whatever you're trying to get funding for.
Yeah, that makes total sense. And I know we're approaching time, so my last question for you is what advice do you have for people that are young people that are interested in innovation and technology and everything that you enjoy working on?
I think we already touched up on a few
Mhm.
things. Stay curious, and be passionate about your kind of area, because that will help you kind of push the boundaries and
Mhm.
motivate you. I think, as I mentioned, also keep learning. I think that is very, very important. Being up to date of what's happening in the world, observe and listen. So that is also important. Networking, network.
Mhm.
And failure, again, don't be afraid of try and fail. You will learn along the way. And also, I think, innovation also happen often when you blend different fields. Like, for example, take technology and art, for instance, from my own experience. Combining these two worlds can lead to unique and impactful innovations. So try to think outside of the box. Try to think of something I took with me from South by, of the non obvious. Try to kind of, you always have the obvious in front of you, but try to think outside of the box of what's not obvious for you in that second, right? And something you asked about also, the future. Try to envision the future, um, like what the world will need in 5, 10, or 20 years from now. I think, innovation often comes from anticipating the future trends, and and also kind of, and now I'm having the futurist hat. Perhaps, you could design 3 or 4 or 5 different scenarios that kind of, this is the world, how the world will look like in 5 years. Is this a future I can see myself in? Or no, this isn't the future I can see myself in. Then try to kind of work towards a future that you would like to see yourself in, and that fulfills the need. But to kind of wrap this up, I think innovation isn't just about having, like, these groundbreaking ideas, but it's also about the persistence and the passion to bring those ideas to life. So my advice would be, stay motivated, don't be discouraged by setbacks, and every step forward, no matter how small, it's part of the journey to make a meaningful impact.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. I really like what you said about persistence and passion. I think totally ring true. And thank you so much for taking the time to come onto the podcast. And to our listeners, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next week for a new episode.
Thank you.